Kathy Brady, or do you want the Dr. Kathy Brady? Anyway, I am an academic in the School of Education, and my role up there specifically is I'm the Director of Initial Teacher Education. Yeah. In the role of Director Teacher Education, I mean, as an academic I also teach, I have the broad overview of managing the programs in themselves, like the academic structure and content of the programs, but the bulk of my work involves supporting and advising the students in a number of ways. Sometimes it's providing academic advice, but quite often I end up providing a more personal counselling service because we have lots of vulnerable, frightened young people who need support. Yeah. We recruit a healthy number of students every year, probably around an average of 6 or 7, I guess, which is good. And principally the recruitment process occurs through Yungarendi, though some Indigenous students do make a direct entrance into university using the standard, say, TAC application pathways. Unfortunately, when that happens, I don't tend to know of them. But Yungarendi is our principal recruitment arm, I guess, through the Indigenous entrance pathway. What's the name of that? Ali, I don't remember.
It's called the Indigenous Admissions
Scheme.
Yeah.
Indigenous Admission Scheme, and which involves interested students making an application through to Yungarendi, and then we interview them. I'm involved in interviewing them to hear their story and listen to why they want to do education, and in almost every circumstance we make them an offer to come and do an education course with us. Yeah. All of the education degrees are double degrees programs. So we have a Bachelor of Education double degree with Bachelor of Arts, or the Bachelor of Science, or the Bachelor of Health Sciences, or the Bachelor of Languages, or the Bachelor of Disability Studies. And then within each of those it's possible to take the Bachelor of Education program at either early childhood, primary or middle and secondary. So all those permutations and combinations means we have 14 different programs. I would say more than half of the Indigenous students that come into education are not direct school leavers. Probably closer to 2/3 of them come to us from other life backgrounds. Many of them are really quite mature age students who have got families and jobs. Others are younger people, but still they've been out of school for a little while. And so for all of those students coming in who aren't directly out of school, just getting back into study is a challenge. Now, that's not a challenge that's exclusive to the fact that they're Indigenous students, but that's probably a first challenge for many of them, just learning to be students. Again, as I said, many have jobs and families, so balancing all of the aspects of their life are difficult. Others come from communities that are not urban communities, so they are living in Adelaide, perhaps with family, other family members, or perhaps with friends, or perhaps not. So they have to manage being away from their home community. And then for a number of the students, it's also sometimes a question of their identity as an Indigenous student, and keeping that perspective to the forefront of their studies too. That almost kind of separates them within their own identity. They probably feel a little bit isolated sometimes. But Yungarindy is fantastic in providing that really family atmosphere down there down here to deal with that. Because I tend to be involved with the students right from the get-go with the interview and the offer, I'm aware of who they are. And so I do make it my business to keep a really special eye out for the Indigenous students. I always let them know that I'm there for them, and they, many of them, avail themselves of what I can help them with. I also advocate for them if I need to, with other academic staff members in the school, and also with other academic staff members outside of the school, because, as I said, they all do double degrees, and so they're doing studies outside of our school as well, and so sometimes I need to advocate for them. So I guess I see my role as being their advocate as an education student up there. That doesn't mean that it's just me that does that. I mean, lots of our staff members look out for the Indigenous students and advocate for them as well. But I do see that as a special part of my role, yeah. Sometimes that just means, helping them arrange an extension, something as simple as that, because many of them feel uncomfortable to perhaps, make that kind of request. And sometimes it's more significant than that. It could be involved. It could be that they might need to do some studies at another university, perhaps. So I would arrange that. Yeah. So whatever I need to do to facilitate their progress, I'll try and do. Yeah. Every single education student is required to do a compulsory core topic that is called Teaching Indigenous Australian Students. The content of that topic is certainly associated with teaching Indigenous Australian students, but the topic is actually very much more than that, in that it introduces the students to the idea of reconciliation, to Indigenous history, Indigenous stories, and Indigenous understandings in general, together with the pedagogy of teaching Indigenous Australian students. So that is a core compulsory topic for everyone, but many other topics have Aboriginal perspectives built into them. I can give an example. My academic area of expertise is mathematics education, and so I teach a range of topics across mathematics education. So I always include some studies of Indigenous ways of maths, traditional Indigenous ways of maths, and contemporary Indigenous ways of maths, and Indigenous numeracy, and how Indigenous peoples are numerate in their cultural context. So that's just an example of what I do. I am well aware that that kind of embedding of Aboriginal understandings occurs in lots of topics. Yeah. I think that if you're thinking about doing education at university, then don't just think about it, but do it. What we need is more Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander teachers, both to act as mentors and guides and role models for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students in schools, but also to provide a level of I think, balance and perspective that can only come with with teachers coming from a broad range of backgrounds. So I would say, if you're thinking about it, don't just think about it, do it. And do it at Flinders, because we offer the best courses.